Oh my god. Streaming has been started. Where my camera at? Yeah, there it is. There it is. Oh, look at that. Power of the internet. You're going live. Oh, I was wondering where the chat was. I'm like, what the hell? Oh, man. Whole, friggin' UI for this entire thing. It's gone friggin', I don't know, out of whack. It centered it, but it's not 1080p anymore, and I don't get why. Ugh. Let me have a look. Video, canvas, 1920 by 1080. It should be 1920 by 1080. What? I've got ads? What the fuck? No. Have they turned ads on? Oh my god, they have. I've paused that. I've paused that now. Oh my, what? It's paused for 10 minutes. What? Okay, edit. Monetization. Off, my good man. There we go. Okay, I've turned monetization off. They must have re-enabled it again. There were warnings about something to do with monetization the other day, and I ignored them. Let me have a look at the stream output recording. Those are good. The video canvas is 1920 by 1080, and this middle bit in the screen, it's ultra wide, but this middle bit's meant to be about 10. It's fit perfectly last time, but now it doesn't. See the way it's cut off on the edges? I don't know why. I don't know why. It's cut off on the edges here. You can see if I scroll the tab thing. That's weird. Alright, anyway, how is everyone? Lord, Dragon, thank you for coming along. There's my Discord there. It needs its properties adjusting now because it's wrong. Okay, there we go. Discord's supposed to have video. Oh, bloody hell, I did turn it on. I did actually turn it on. It must have gone off again. Stupid thing. Thanks for reminding me though. Peace and quiet because the wife is in Spain. Yeah. I understand. Peace and quiet indeed. Thanks, Dragon. My VIPs are in. VIP's in the house. But just why? Yeah, save. Okay, anyway. Alright, well, there you go. I don't know what we're doing today. What do we want to do today? I've been working on... Let's see if I can load it up here. I've been working on... It might be a bit difficult to see. I don't know if I've mentioned this in the past, but essentially a friend of mine needs design diagram. That's mine at home. That's what I have at home so far. I think I've shared that. I can't remember. But a friend of mine needs a physical bit of infrastructure he can have inside of the school so that he can run computer science classes. And so I was like, okay, so Proxmox and some VMs with a router on top would work. And one of the biggest issues is student protection. So being able to build things, allow the kids to be able to access things like, you know, being able to program code, API, data, but none of the student data being saved in the sense of, you know, their name, any, you know, the emails or anything to do with the students, for obvious reasons, really. So with it being a closed loop system that doesn't care about who the student is, it worked really well. I took it in. It was just a PC. I've got like two of them with a MikroTik router on the top, and they were able to connect to it and access VS Code in the browser and do some hacking. So now he's like, that would make for a really, really good appliance for schools. So I'm designing it, building it. So it's going to be based on. So far, I'm going to get to probably Proxmox based system, 64 gig of RAM, probably 4 to 6 cores, 512 gig NVMe for Proxmox and all of the ISO images. I can probably bring this down. I'll have to refine this to bring it down in cost. And these things are pretty expensive as well, but it is a very, very good choice. Ethernet cabling, 12, possibly optional. This is more optional actually. Not really too sure about this just yet. This definitely isn't optional. You got no say in the matter here, because you're going to need power cables for everything. That'll be 2 here actually. +1 power cable if you do go with a switch. And so it's been a really interesting challenge to just build this out. Even though I've got 30 students using the system at once, that's about true, because each classroom in Queensland is limited to 28 to 30 kids. That's where that limit comes from. But really, it's something that the school will probably use for at least 2 years. So it needs to support them for at least 2 years, really. And so it actually needs to probably support about 100 virtual machines. So I've been having to play around with, where are we? Playing around with Dev. Yes. I've been playing around with, there's our WoW server. Let me just, there we go. Cuts it off a bit on the right, but that's fine. I've been playing around with Alpine Linux, and that's why I've got a little VM here called size test, in order to see how I can squeeze 100 virtual machines onto a box. And surprisingly, in a nice way, Alpine Linux is, I've always known about Alpine Linux. It's so tiny, so small that it can run on about 128 megabyte of RAM, which is great, because ultimately the kids don't really need to do much inside of the VM. They really don't need much at all. They pretty much just need to run very basic Python applications, extremely simple, possibly Java, C, C++. They won't run a database at all. What I'm going to do is I'm going to run a core virtual machine that will be locked out and locked down. That will run a shared MySQL instance for them. But I'm open to ideas. But my idea so far, my plan so far, is one virtual machine per user. Yeah, but keep in mind there'd be 100 virtual machines, but they can't all run at once, because obviously 128 megabyte of RAM easily fits into 32 gig. If you have 32 gig of RAM, if you have 64 in the system and you put 32 aside theoretically for 100 virtual machines, you can actually get, at 128 megabyte, you can get about 250 VMs inside of 32 gig. My intention is to get about 110. I want some spare ones in there as well, so that kids can be given an extra one, or can be hop swappable. So the math works out, I believe. I mean, feel free to. Oops. I don't know why that's. I'll change that to hardware. Actually, I believe the math works out just fine. Feel free to double check it for me. You don't know the math, okay? Kcal. So 1024 megabytes in a gigabyte. Multiply that by 32, so you get 32,768 megabytes in a 32 gig block of RAM. Divide that by 128, you get 256 virtual machines, technically speaking. I might end up giving them, let's just do that again. Ding, 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 ding. 3768 divided by 192. It might give them 192 mega RAM, I'm not really sure. I was thinking that one VM for more users and split through. Well, the problem is that it's a good idea, and I did originally think about that too, but the overall downside to that is we want the users to have, we want each student to be able to do anything they want with that Linux system, including breaking it. So the idea is that it's essentially, so it's easy to, from my perspective, I think, to fall into the trap of building a padded room or a sandbox for the student, so that they're inside of a safe environment that they can practice things, but they can't break things. But ultimately, from my perspective, it doesn't reflect reality. I remember breaking stuff when I was a kid all the time. I'd break Linux boxes all the time. I'd screw up a kernel flag, or I'd delete a file system, or I'd format it wrong, and the system wouldn't boot, and I had to fix it. Right. I'm not expecting the kids to do that, but I am expecting them to sort of log in as root and delete their own home directory and stuff like that, and go, oh, it's gone, and be like, okay, cool. How do you fix it? And then they can do the research on how to fix it. Or, of course, we can just delete the VM, and then the teacher can go in and run an action inside a git t that then refreshes it for you. They don't need French, pseudo French. So there's all kinds of stuff that they're going to have to learn. For me, if you create an environment where they can break stuff, it's a way better learning experience than a padded room that teaches them that nothing goes wrong. A lot of online learning resources will create like these sandbox environments. Oh, we will teach you AWS, and we provide you with a sandbox AWS account that you can log into, blah blah blah. And I think that's good to a degree, but having an actual real AWS account that you actually got to look after and secure, and get the billing stuff sorted, and billing alarms put in place, and strip out IAM policies, and put SCPs in place, disable services in outside of your region if you're not going to use them, and yada yada yada, is the best way to truly understand what the hell's going on and how to build things properly. So if I come down to these are all ideas around SQL databases, this is the stuff I did for the original work. If I come into idea, essentially this is the proxmox provider. Yeah, so what I do in here, I come in here and I can create core VMs. I can create student VMs, and I'm just in the process. And then the reason I use a MikroTik router on the top is because there's a MikroTik. Why a table for each user? A table for each user. What do you mean? Do you mean that? It doesn't necessarily have to be. There's actually an easier way for me to. You had create table 100. Oh, you mean in the SQL? Yes, that was here. This was for the create table. That's a database. Create database. Yeah. Yeah. So you create each individual database, and then create a. So that's the one thing. That's the one part where it will be a shared resource. Without a doubt, is that individual database, one per user. So that will be a shared resource. Obviously, a login will be a shared resource, and so this is the initial So what I did is I went in and I did a security SQL injection, sort of little hackathon, if you like, with about 30 kids, and this was the sort of MVP that I just smashed together very, very quickly. So all of this would be replaced with essentially with Ansible and Terraform and stuff to go in and do all of this for me. All these student credentials might not necessarily be true. I might strip out the student 01 and just give them a single word as the password. I don't know. I don't really know yet. I've got to have a play around. But the hardest part is deciding on how to actually allow it to be managed. So write the code for make it manageable by the teacher. So I'm going to go with git t. I don't know if you've ever seen git t before, but it's effectively a GitHub rip, basically. It's been around for a while. It's free. It's a single binary. It's written in Go. It's super easy to run. It's really, really powerful. And once I've got a git t VM going with lots of virtual machines on, lots of repositories and organizations, and it's set up properly. Great things about VMs is you can just take a snapshot, right? So I can just snapshot it, and it's like, cool, there's version 1. It's got all of the code on there, blah, blah, blah. And it works really well. I had to use git t once the project got too big for git t to support. Yeah, it is. Had to upgrade the VPS. Oh, I think that, yeah. I think git t can handle any sized Git repository. Sounds like the VM maybe was a bit too small. But so the idea here then is I've got a if I actually, I've got to effectively design this, or I want to design this. How do I here? Oh, I have to do it over here, don't I? Let's do it. Oh no. Oh, there we go. New drawing. Yeah, let's do it here. Let's do a new drawing in here. So we have to think about what? That's the cent. Okay. So obviously, Proxmox is the foundational component of the bottom, obviously. But we now got to think about the additional foundational stuff that then sits on top of it and provides everything that's required to make it all work. I don't remember the specs it had, just the cost. The equivalence of the price right now from the same provider. 8 cores, 16 gig of RAM, SSD. Well, how much was that in USD per month, I assume? So if we have these components, these are our core components, and then $15 a month. That sounds like it's a Hetzner box or something. And then we got a student VM, but it's like literally, you know, times 100. Quite literally. I would actually go as far as saying probably times 120 just to be on the safe side. With these, we've got to decide. It was exactly what you're doing for the students. What do you mean? Can you go into more detail? Yeah, there you go. No. Yeah, there we go. And then these ones can be that color, and then student VMs can be that color. There we go. A VM on a single server that had shared resources. Oh, okay. Yeah, so it's a virtual. So you had a virtual private server, right? So yeah, effectively you've got a virtual machine. Is effectively what you've got. Yeah, that's exactly right. And then you're sharing the resources with the other people on that physical machine. So yeah, you're not wrong. What I've got to do on here though is I've got to somehow, we'll do it in an ellipse for, I don't know. There we go. This can be for some process. So we need several things really. We're going to need the JDK and the JRE. The reason being is a school can actually select a whole host of different things that they might want to do. Actually different languages, right? And so it's possible that I may have to provide all of these as compilers. Essentially, they don't have to run like super fast or anything. But all of the stuff that needs to exist on a student, basically the VMS have a lot on there. Git struggles with git diff. Should be okay in this case. Trust me, these students are not doing anything too involved. They're not doing anything on a professional level. That they're learning. If you think about it, you've got a classroom of 30 kids. You've probably got 2 at most, maybe 3, who know what Rust is, and maybe know what C++ is, and have maybe made an app in Flask at home in their bedroom. So the rest of them are pretty much learning from scratch. But I've got to work out what to do on this VM. There is another challenge that needs to come on the VM as well, and that is, so just do this, and that is effectively the Linux maze idea. So this doesn't exist, I don't think, in any other form of sort of parlance, if you like. But I don't know if you've ever used Hack-the-Box, where you do, you hack 1 and you get to 2, and then you hack 2 and you get to 3, and then you hack 3 and you get to 4. and so on, right? And so I want to do something like that. My friend has asked for something like this, but this just needs to teach them the sort of basics of Linux. It doesn't really need to do anything else per se. So as we can see, this Linux, this VM, all of a sudden these are little pebbles, by the way. With years of old project, so tons of lines of file. Yeah. I can imagine that would struggle with that, but hopefully it should be good. Should be good for ourselves. So these are the two things primarily that I will. I'll just ungroup those actually. What? Oh, I see. It's based on the text. I see what happened. Okay, can you get a bit smaller? 9. Okay, makes sense, I guess. So we've got that rock on there that we need. We've got these rocks on here that we need to solve. And then the other issue, of course, is things like package management, right? So they're not going to have access to package management. So if I go over to we go into here. What was that one that I found? You can see all my crap I've been Googling for. What was it called? Python package, Python PyPy package cache. They will have a package manager, but they won't. There's nothing they can't pull from anything, can they? Because they won't have internet access at all. Let me find it. It's in here. Bandersnatch. I hate the name, but yeah, that's what it's called. Okay. So they'll have access to the package manager, but they won't be able to download anything. In fact, what is the Alpine Linux package repository mirror size? How does it open up on Linux mirror? Let's see if I can mirror it. There's one thing I can sort of throw money at. So 3.7 terabytes, I think is what they're saying there. So it was, 456 gigabytes for version 3.21. Create a directory that have the mirror set up a cron job, light HPD, set up rsync so other mirrors can rsync from you. Make sure you have enough disk space. So you need, I could put that on a single 512 gig SSD if I really wanted to take that route of them having a mirror of all of the packages so they can install stuff. It might be a good idea to do that. Excuse me, I'm not too sure yet. There will be plenty of disk space inside it because hard drives are cheap, in my opinion. They're pretty cheap. They're not an overall cost, I mean, like you can get a 1 terabyte Samsung 870 Evo. No, they can't access the internet at all. Complete legal requirement. They can't go anywhere near the internet. The box cannot be physically connected to the internet at all. If the moment you do that, it becomes a completely different game. You need to start getting certified as not allowing internet access and protecting student data and yeah, ew. Yeah, now imagine how the teachers feel. So here's what I want you to do. I want you to imagine you're a teacher. And I want you to imagine that you have very limited time, very limited resources, and over the next 2 years you've got probably, let's say, 50 kids that you need to take through a digital solutions curriculum which involves programming, front-end, back-end, transformer data, user experience. So you're going to learn things like Python, SQL, UX, all this kind of stuff, cybersecurity, right? But here's the kicker. You don't know any of that. It's not your major. You're just one of the teachers at the school. Your major might be science-based, but it's not your major. You don't have any money, or you have very little money. If you're a privileged school, you might have some money. If you're a private religious school that's very shiny and big here in Queensland especially, you'll have a lot of money, but you don't have the skills. You don't have the time or the inclination to build something like this. And just like what happened in a school nearby, is if you do have these skills, why are you working in the education system for $80,000 a year when you can work in the private sector for 200? Oh wait, yeah, that is what happens. They go into, they do it in the school, and then someone swoops in and goes, well, you've got those skills, we'll pay you double. You don't have to deal with kids, none of the legalities, maintain a teacher registration, do marking. You just get to play with the tech and we'll pay you double. So no one around you also has the skills. So, oh, and you can't access the internet. Well, you can access the internet, of course, but it's whitelisted rather than black. It's not like, oh, that website's blacklisted, but everything else is open. No, it's a whitelist. Everything's blocked until specific domains are whitelisted. So trying to get access to Hack the Box and stuff like that to try and actually run a cybersecurity course, not in a state school. If you're in a private sector school, you can. They can pretty much do what they want, but not in a state school. So state schools really actually struggle a lot. So the idea behind this is to actually go into state schools and make it accessible to, in fact, that's what I was actually just going to demonstrate, was what I need to do here. So if you imagine that this is the box, right? What I wanted to essentially do is provide, yeah, that's right. Exactly. That's what I'm doing. I'm building an appliance that they have to plug in on their site, a PC that they plug in, MikroTik router, that Ethernet that they plug in. Oh, well, no, like I'm exaggerating in the sense that, like, they don't have the money in the sense that they can't go out and just stop working and learn how to do this, or they can't pay someone to come in and, like, they can't hire an industry professional to come in and teach it every week, right, for 40 weeks of the year, because there's 4 terms of 10 weeks. Yeah, it's good, Lord. It is good. It is good that we're teaching kids about all of this tech stuff. It's not mandatory. It's what's called an elective here, and usually to answer the money problem is usually electives are billed to the kid. So the kid actually pays for the elective. So what they'll do is they'll look at how much it will cost to put on. They'll find a teacher who can do it, and then they'll bill the kid, like, say, $100 a term or $100 a year or something. And then if they get like 50 kids, then, like, okay, well, that's a lot of money. You know, $100, 50 kids, you know, it's $5,000. So then they might be able to buy something like this for $5,000. Would have been nice when I was growing up. I had a little bit of IT, but nothing on this scale. Yeah, but the idea behind this is to effectively, if you think about essentially how we work as developers in the real world, I'm trying to, yeah, Microsoft Office. That's exactly what I had, Dragon. That's pretty much my education. We didn't even look at the BIOS though. I had to go to college before I was able to play with hardware. Before anyone let me build a PC or anything. Hey, Cosmic Self. See you there in the audience. Thank you for joining me. Joining us, I should say. Effectively, I need to simulate the internet. I know it sounds really dumb, but if you think about the internet from a programmer's perspective, you know, what are they accessing the most? You know, they've got GitHub for their tools. They've got access to data all around the place. They've got access to APIs. APIs. They've obviously got access to knowledge, so they've got access to blogs, videos and stuff, search engines, AI, of course, which, guess what's not allowed in state schools? Search engines, that'll do. AI. So I need to I essentially need to go, okay, how do I simulate this, right, inside of that? which is why another thing that's going to be running on the box is going to be APIs. And there's also going to be what's it called, min.io S3, effectively S3. So we're going to have things like min.io, and then that's going to have raw data in there, so they have to learn how to use an object store and things like that. And this is all just essentially to try and simulate a micro internet, so they're working on their VM, and their VM is a computer that's got attached to this overarching internet that allows them to, well, not that, I guess it would be that, wouldn't it? And if we ungroup these, actually make it a bit easier if I just do that. Let's just group all of this together. There we go. So essentially, this is what we're building on top of Proxmox. These are all VMs that essentially are being built, but all of this is the public internet. This is what we all have access to, and I need to find ways of replicating as much of it as possible on what we have, basically, on what we have available to us, which is the hardware. Well, so here's the thing, right? They don't have to go through all of it. That's a great question. They don't have to go through all of it, though. Here's what's required. Think of it like this. The teacher has a curriculum that they have to teach, and in order to teach it, they have to create unit plans for every lesson that leads to meeting the criteria for each student. And so they might go, okay, lesson 1, let's install Python and write a Python script. So then lesson 2, they might then build on that, and then build and build and build and build and build. So they might eventually end up going towards, so this is another way of looking at it. They might eventually go towards building an actual full app, right? And so here's another way of looking at it. What we want is problems as well, because the real world has problems. Now, what do you do in the real world when you have a problem that you need to solve and you have access to all of this, all of the internet? Well, you go and find programmers, data engineers, you bring them all together, and then they consume open source projects, open source data, if that's what they need, APIs, knowledge, AI, etc., in order to achieve that result. So what this effectively is aiming to do is provide a platform to give the teacher a micro internet, so that they can then, when they're writing their unit plans, because every unit plan will be different for each school, because schools can do what they want, essentially teach however they want, and the idea being is that they have that they need that flexibility because of the nature of basically of their children, of their kids. They can't use just sort of off-the-shelf solutions, not their solution, the unit plans that they write, because each of their kids are going to be different. And so it doesn't actually work. It doesn't actually work. So this isn't instead, don't look at this as, oh, they've got to learn all of this stuff, because you make a good point that they're going to have time in a year or 2 years. Instead, this provides a platform so that the teacher can go, okay, cool, well, I want them to learn this, 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 and this. And so they can look at this appliance, look at what it provides, and goes, okay, cool, well, we've got an open source weather API over here. We've got a open source JSON file over here that has, I don't know, weather station geospatial data. So they can go, okay, cool. So in that case then, why don't we build an app where we ingest the geospatial data into a graph database, or we take that data and then they've got to put it in a SQL database, and then they've got to write a JavaScript front end to talk to an API that they write, and then they've got to render it on a canvas or something, right, on a map. And so it gives the teacher like a boatload of options so that they can write their unit plans knowing that they're not going to struggle to find data, find APIs, they're not going to be able to access anything on the internet, and so on and so forth. So that's also another good question. It depends on the school. My wife's school is pretty much fully iPad based, and the students provide their own iPad. They own the iPad. Their parents have to buy it. So, but that's another good question. It really does depend. Ultimately, if they're going to be computer science students, they're going to need a laptop, right? I mean, what more can I do? I can't really do anything more on that front. Yeah, enforced purchase of Apple. Yeah, correct. They're an Apple school. Yeah. Yep. So yeah. So that's the problem that I'm facing. This is what I've got to build. And these APIs need to be, you know, they can be anything. No, I don't think I'd need virtual desktops. They'll be okay. They'll be okay. They can only SSH into this, and then these are all accessible over standard protocols, HTTP, etc. It's not. I can't go too far with I can't think of the entire vertical of the stack itself. Right. I can't. You know, you've got the school, and then on top of that you've got the teacher, and on top of that, you know, you've got the student. Then you got the student, and then you got, like, you know, they got the student's hardware, and, you know, and then the teacher's hardware, and then of course the school's got its own hardware as well. You know, what do these things, you know, have available to them, and so on and so forth. It's like, well, I can only think about so much, and really I can only really think about these three things. I can't really care about these three things. Well, they won't be on an iPad though. The kids have an iPad that they bring to school, but they would be allowed to bring a laptop if they were coming to a computer. So the other thing to think about as well, sorry, I should have mentioned it, is that this will also allow them to run a computer science club as well. So if they want to run a weekly computer science club, it gives them that fake little micro internet with a lot of infrastructure on it to do that. And so those kind of kids are going to have laptops. And at the end of the day, it's going to be a case of, if you want to take this elective, you have to have a PC or a laptop at home, but ideally a laptop, because you have to bring a laptop to class with you. So if the kids sat there with just like a tablet, then it's like, well, I mean, can you get a keyboard for it? Can you type on it? It's going to be brutal, but that's the experience that they're going to have. There's not really much I can do about that. That being said, if they make if all of this can generate enough income, this isn't a profit center for me. This is a feel good, do good by the do right by the system, and do the right thing, add the right value to society sort of thing for me. And so if it makes enough money, it's possible that we could also buy a stack of laptops that we can lend for free to schools for students who don't have them. No, they couldn't tunnel in. Hey, Trouble. Hello. Good to see you. Hope you're feeling better. Been a few weeks now. No, they definitely could not VPN in. Tailscale would be amazing, but no, they absolutely cannot. They absolutely cannot. So, yeah, this is where I'm at. That was probably going to be something, but I don't know what. HTTP, videos, learning videos. I want them to be able to access training videos. We need to find those as well, so they've got a collection of stuff on there. Okay, yeah, that's good news. Good to hear you don't have cancer, or probably don't have cancer. I'm sure it's not. I'm sure it's not cancer. You'll be good. You'll be fine. Promise. We got this. So yeah. I do want a Neo4j on here as well. It's all about options. Yeah, that's right. Like, if you've got suggestions, that would be great. But effectively, what are we looking at? All right. So, I am building. I will draw out more of a diagram over here. So, let's put this here. Let's put another one down here. Let's draw this here and go. The Internet of Stuff of Things. Alright, so we've got the internet over here. The internet is shiny and also dark and scary, right? And it has, you know, these kind of things on it, right? All this kind of stuff on it. And so you can access things like, you know, GitHub and APIs and blah, blah, blah. Okay. This is my mug. Or did you mean this mug? You've got to be more precise in your language, Lord, because there are indeed 2 mugs on the screen. All right. So this is me and you. Whoopsie daisy. Me and you and everyone else on the planet. Right? And this is a teacher and a student inside of a state school inside of Queensland, Australia. Okay. Send 2 back. Get rid of the fill. There we go, right? So these guys are inside of a school. Okay. We are just wherever we're at, right? So we can access this like that. The teacher can access is sort of in the school from a technology perspective. It's sort of like that, right? Whereas the students are not. They cannot access the public internet from within the school, or at least they are heavily restricted depending on the school that they go to, right? So I pose a question to you, Trouble, in order to answer your own question. If you are a teacher and or a student and you want to learn, let's say you want to learn Python backend programming with Flask, MySQL, basic CRUD, you know, REST API. You want to write a REST API, and then on the front end you want to write something in, let's say, Vue.js, or maybe you want to write something in Unity or Unreal Engine to talk to that API, and then it does something visual on the screen, like it visualizes whatever it is, basically your classic client-server model. How do you do that if the student's connectivity doesn't go beyond this boundary here? The teachers can barely do that. They can barely access the internet. And so you don't have access to any of this over here. How do you teach the students everything I've just described? What would be your solution, just out of interest? They've got relatively low-powered standard consumer laptops. The teacher doesn't have the money to buy, you know, internal servers or anything like that. At least they couldn't. What I mean to say is they don't have the skills to build, you know, their own appliance like this, which is what this is. Okay, so how do they do that? Well, the plan is, from my perspective, to just go ahead and answer the question, because you're taking too long. It's because it's basically it's gone wrong. It's gone wrong. So they can't go beyond that boundary, right? Well, the answer is essentially to build an appliance that effectively lives inside the school. Maybe they might not have it though. They might not every student's going to be equal. Some students are poor, literally. Some students are literally quite poor. And so we need to bring as much of this as possible, right, inside of the appliance, and we need to bring it into the school network in an offline manner, whereby this also cannot go outside the bounds of the school network. That's what we're building right now. That's what we're planning. And so I have a friend at a school who needs me to build this, and generally speaking, the education system as a whole, especially on the state level, sort of needs something like this to exist for the future of digital solutions education that's coming forward, basically. And so what we're planning over here, so that's the problem, essentially. Yeah, that's the problem. and I'm been spending the last few days on and off just thinking about the potential solution, essentially. So we're going to be using Alpine Linux. We're going to have 128 megabyte of RAM. I might go to 192 megabyte of RAM. I'm not sure yet. They'll have like 10 gig, maybe not even that, maybe 4 gig disk space. They'll be limited to probably about 30% of the whole CPU that they'll have access to. So the CPU, they won't be able to completely crush the entire per appliance. So at any one given time, probably 30 maximum, because legislation in Queensland prevents classroom sizes from being above 28, really, a high school level. So at most, but it'll span multiple years and be used across multiple. It'll span multiple year groups, and therefore be used by multiple students over the course of a few years, 2 or 3 years. And so really then probably needs to be about 120 VMs on there. But the actual underlying hardware itself, if I just will be fairly chunky. Okay, so we're looking at 6 cores, 64 gigabyte of RAM. Oops. And then, n terabyte of SSDs. So there'll be 64 gig of RAM in the system. I can go higher, I can go lower, technically. 64 is a nice sweet number though, because 120 student VMs at 128 megabyte is actually more than attainable. It's 16 gig. It's just under 16 gig of RAM, so it leaves plenty of space. You could technically get away with 32 gig of RAM and bring the cost of the system down a bit, but I think it's worth having that extra RAM for growth. I do want to run multiple management VMs. These will all be run on various VMs of various sizes. So the biggest ones will probably be Neo4j. That'll probably still remain small, actually. That'll be on the smaller side. This will require a lot of disk space, but not a lot of CPU of RAM. But Git and MySQL I want to be at least sort of like that sort of 3 to 4 gigabyte in size. Because this will actually be, I'll put a hash on it, that'll actually be like a management VM. The Git one will actually be a management VM. Let's go with, we'll do it red like that. So that's going to be like the central one. So that's going to be the first one. And then to visualize it a bit better, the Git VM, even though they're not all based on top of it. In fact, what we'll do is we'll put that back to the normal size. We'll stack these up to be like, okay, these are auxiliary VMs over here, like this. On top of Git is going to be repositories, so repo Ansible, and then repo Terraform, right? And these combined are going to, effectively build, all of these VMs over here. Okay, and then you've got templates as well, right? So if we hash that and we go Alpine Linux, we're going to have 2 VM templates. All of these are going to be effectively based on top of Debian. So Debian for your sort of bigger VMs like your MySQL, the management ones, but the student VMs are going to be based probably directly on top of Alpine Linux, because it's super, super tiny, and you can get away with probably about a 64 megabyte runtime if you really. I actually did test that. I think you can get down to about 64 megabytes and actually have a stable runtime without any doubt. So yeah, all right. Registry that opened out of AWS, NASA Power. Okay, boom, 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 boom. Okay, what we got here? Multimedia Commons, a collection of audio and visual features computed for nearly 100 million Creative Commons licensed Flickr images and videos. So they're just random, as in, like, just random images and videos. Browse bucket. Okay. Does that make sense, Trouble? Data. Okay, let's have a look. Images. Okay. So, good question. Are we talking computer science students or more general purpose? So, if you're looking at international baccalaureate, then those students, then the actual curriculum itself is called the International Baccalaureate Computer Science curriculum, and it's sort of designed to get them ready for real world stuff. That's what baccalaureate does as a concept. You're missing context. Okay, high school, so various ages. So think possibly 8-9-year-old through to 16, 17, 18-year-old. That entire scope. So think about being so imagine you're an 8-year-old and your teacher has access to one of these, and you're in a school that's like a college, so it has the whole set of year groups from prep all the way through, maybe not prep, but like 8 years old all the way through to 18 years old, the whole 10-year gap. Then one of these systems, you might interact with one of these boxes throughout the whole of that. So you may go from scratch all the way up. So these kids, based on the curriculum, whether they do digital solutions or whether they do something like international baccalaureate computer science, will depend, and it also depends on how the school wants to teach it and what the teacher wants to teach. But they will have to effectively write unit plans and every lesson build up the students' knowledge in computer science fundamentals. So generally speaking, so if we go over to Queensland Digital Solutions, correct, they should find it up. Curriculum, what is digital solutions? So Zen for Schools is pretty good as well. I've met the CEO of these guys. He lives just around the corner from me, actually. So the digital solutions subject is an area of Queensland curriculum that concerns itself with technology. In the subject, high school students are taught not just how to utilize technology in our ever-advancing world, but practical science behind it. So they're effectively taught of programming, databases, data transfer, cybersecurity. There's lots and lots of ways, and that's the thing, right? So this comes back to something that Dragon was saying about earlier. Ultimately, the reason I'm building it like a platform with all of these VMs on it that then just sit there and effectively just provide access to things and provide data is because the teacher might decide, okay, well, my kids are going to learn about the digital solutions curriculum through the lens of a cybersecurity expert, which then means I have to have things like Juicebox running, and I do actually have a Juicebox. I do actually have a Juicebox VM, and I need WebGoat and stuff like that, right? So those things will need to run on there so that the students can hack those things, as well as other stuff. Completely physically limited. I can technically build an appliance that can connect to the internet. Whole complete ball game. The ball game changes completely. You've got to get approval. You've got to get state approval. You got to go through an accreditation to prove that the appliance protects student data. It's not impossible. For example, that's Zen for Schools article I was just reading. So these guys, again, I met the CEO at a conference. He's a really nice guy. He had to Zenva hosted themselves in the US, even though he's Australia based. He had Zen for Schools he had to basically create a complete copy of the whole thing and host it in Australia just to get accreditation. So he had to do a lot of work to essentially get this running inside of Australia and get it into schools. So the way you see that, right? Okay, actually, this is a good model. So see all of this. So in fact, if I just grab that. So if we come over to here, right, let's go back to that. So this is essentially digital solutions, right? So if you look at like data and ICT, data representation, handling and analysis with Excel and Python, yawn, sounds boring to me. But part of the digital solutions curriculum is looking at and understanding data and handling it and transforming it. How systems work, hardware, software, networks operate. There's components of that. Cybersecurity and privacy, you can probably teach the entire of digital solutions just on each one of these things. So a teacher can pick this, for example, because they might know it really well and go, I want to go down that route. So what do they need? CSV files, JSON files, possibly web APIs, possibly a Python API. The VM needs to have Python on it with Flask and the ability to read maybe Excel files and so on and so forth. So I've got to forward think this and then build it. It actually is the most popular game creation is, without a doubt. Yeah, all the kids. So I do go to my friend's computer science club every Friday, and most of the kids are making games. Yeah, you're not wrong. But also there's a lot of cybersecurity as well. I'd say these two are the most game creation, cybersecurity, and privacy are probably actually the two most popular, I would say. And then probably third is just general coding. So with the front end, you're going to need like NPM. So here's the thing, their laptops, their actual own laptops, can do whatever they want. They're still restricted by the Queensland Computer Network. But all they've got to do is just hotspot off their phone. And they're on a 5G link. So the front end, like NPM and stuff, I'm not too worried about. It's a good point. It's a really good point, and I am thinking that way. I was actually just looking at the Alpine Linux, debating whether or not I can run a 3.21 version mirror, and it's less than half a terabyte. So I could have a dedicated SSD in there just for Alpine Linux mirror, and so they've got access to the whole Alpine Linux mirror, and then I can configure each student virtual machine to then use that. Right? Let's get rid of that. And so if I go here, do Alpine mirror, we'll put that in red just to say it's another critical system. If we move this over here, so I'm just changing my UI. That was weird. They done what? Oh, he deleted the message. Must have mistyped it. Alpine mirror. And then there'll need to be a link here. Now they might not actually need that, so it's something that has to be considered, right, as to whether or not they need it. But it's also, if they can just type in apk install blah, and they get it like that, that would be nice. A PyPy mirror would be nice. It's 23 terabytes, so that ain't happening anytime soon. But that's where Bandersnatch comes in. Bandersnatch, sorry. It acts as effectively a cache, and so I might be able to get this to cache a lot for me. Yeah, that's true actually. It's not a bad point. The teacher might be like, actually you're going to learn JavaScript from scratch and interact with your own. So they might build an API in Python, and that's what will go on the VM and live on the network and access that MySQL database that's running on there. So this will be like a shared resource that they'll all use. They'll all use this, right? So I guess I should put that in red because that's going to be a core. That'll be a core, pretty critical VM as well. I'll get Git-T. I'll just get Git-T to use SQLite, and I'll just have regular snap. That's another thing I need to do on the box. It needs to have regular snapshots. And then these things here, all of these things they'll all be based on Debian, but they'll all need, these are all auxiliary virtual machines. So these are all the things that supply services to the end students, and then these are all the back-end stuff that provide services to the students, but sort of in the background. This is where the code will go. So the code will stay on the appliance. It doesn't go anywhere near the public internet, so they don't have to worry about data leakage or anything. And that's a big one for the teachers as well. That's a really big. In fact, I'll tell you what. Actually, I just remembered. Let me. I'll read this out to you. So, my friend who I work with, right? Plug and play for things they might not need. Plug and play for things they might not need. He'll let's expand on that. I don't know what you mean by that. I'll read this out to you. This is in the Teachers of Digital Solutions QLD. This was posted on Friday. Do you work in a BCE school and teach Digi Solutions with Python? If so, can you let me know which school and how well do IT support Digi Solutions software, specifically for IA3? Not fully sure what that is, but it's something to do with the curriculum. What are you using for IA3? Every year there's an issue with Python, PyQt5 and request libraries. There were issues with PyCharm a couple of years ago too, so we had to move to Thonny. I feel like I'm constantly having to find new ways to make IA3 work at my school, when actually it would take only a few minutes to set up a home without all of these laptop restrictions. I know this is normal for our subject, but it's getting old at this school. So do you see the problems that teachers are having? They can't access anything. The laptops are restricted, and what they could technically do is send the kids home with some homework and say, when you get home on your private network, install these things. They could install VMs on their laptop, etc., and they could learn that way. But you can't guarantee that that's going to work, unfortunately. I've had issues running VirtualBox on hardware before. It's just not played game. It might even be possible. It's also very likely, given the consumer nature of the laptops, that they don't have virtualization options inside of the CPU at all. Play for things that I don't need. The machines offers MySQL, Postgres, Kafka, Mongo, Weather API, Random Data API. Like, it has different things, but they enable only MongoDB and APIs because that's the only thing they care about. Yeah, that's possible. Yeah, I'm going to teach the teacher how to use Git-T. So Git-T is going to act as the basically Git-T and its Git-T and its runners. Action runners, but also all of the code, all of the Ansible, all the Terraform, and they're going to be able to learn from it too. But I'm going to teach them how to use it so they can go in and run actions, and those actions will do things for them. Those actions will actually essentially be what provisions things. So I could start them off with a blank, all of the code to run VMs, but no VMs actually running. And then they can go in and run actions that say, "Oh, give me this and give me that." The approach of the school with those restrictions. You mean the restrictions that are imposed upon the school? It's to protect student data, unfortunately. We really need to stop people from being able to sort of manipulate the kids from... Because the problem is while they're in the school, ultimately the school's responsible for the children in loco parentis, ultimately. So they've got in lieu of the parents, the teachers are the parents, essentially. And so, yeah, it's difficult. Like, my friend won't even let his kids look at YouTube Kids. The kids, he won't let them look at YouTube Kids because he's like, there's just weird shit on there, man. That teaches bad, really bad sort of ideology. Just like really weird, wacky, surrealist stuff that's just off the wall wacky and just psychedelic and just strange. It probably is worse than the dark web, yeah. And it's just full of, corporate sponsorship and logo, so he doesn't let them go anywhere near it. So now you know how schools feel when they've got an entire spectrum of... Like, my wife's school has 3,500 kids in it. From the age of 11 onwards. So they've got to do what they can to protect those kids. But unfortunately, society says, well, they also need to be learning this stuff. The marketplace says they also need to be learning this stuff. And so these kids grow up seeing it all. Like, their dad's a programmer, or their mum's a programmer, or they're both programmers, or they both work in IT. And so they grow up with this stuff. They grow up with it, and then they go, I want to do that too. And then they go to school, and the school's like, we can't, we can barely provide it. So that's why digital solutions and this kind of stuff is an elective topic. What are we looking at here? Wow, Look, I'm not a judgmental type, but that is a big guy. My God. It's literally random images. It really is. Okay, multiple extended video with activities. Some of these would be good actually if I can pull these down, only a few of them, because some of them might want to do some sort of like Python based sort of like analysis of, you know, oh, I want to look at this video and detect faces in it and stuff like that. But it's whether or not they're going to have access to what they need to use that. Pacific Ocean sound recordings. God, that sounds creepy as hell. That sounds really creepy, dude. Really creepy. Let's go to the top level thing. Usages, common crawl. I chose it because it's creepy. Thanks, mate. That's a no. Is there any with geospatial data? That would be nice. What's this? There should be. Come on, mate. Get finding it. What do you want me to do some work here? Can't you see I'm trying to work there? Come on. Ooh, what's this one? Whoa. Sentinel 2 is a European-wide swath high-resolution multi-spectrum imaging mission. 4 mission specific twin satellites flying in the same orbit but phase 180 degrees. Designed to give a high revisit frequency of 5 days at the equator. There's a lot of NASA stuff. Yeah, okay. Interesting. So I wonder, see, if I can provide this kind of data, then what we have to do is think of a problem that the data relates to, and then it's the teacher that then decides whether they want to use that data to bridge the gap, right? So hopefully this now makes sense. There needs to be like other stuff on here as well. There's probably going to need to be a lot more. These will definitely need to be optional because they're cybersecurity related, and so they could, you know, obviously they're hackable and can be bricked. But what else could be useful, right? What else could be useful? So we've got multiple APIs. In fact, let's have a think about that. If we look at the APIs, what APIs, right? So let's create a subset of APIs that run this. Definitely weather. I've got access to a lot of weather data that I bought a while ago. It cost me a few $100s, but it's basically a lot of cities since like 1970. I need other types of data though. I need other types of data. So this is running on here. What are my options besides what you've just given me? What else can I do? See, this looks interesting, but I'm not fully sure what I'm looking at or how it can be used. Fleet solution for gaming category. I doubt they'll be able to make a multiplayer game that requires fleets, but sure. Yeah. Yeah, maybe not. Okay. Alan Cell imaging collection. Okay. Like, the thing is as well, it can even be as simple as they just create a website, a blog. It might even be that they just create a blog. Really could even be like the teacher could actually just take them through that, creating a blog. It really depends on the teacher. The cybersecurity, having a few cybersecurity options, and there's a good idea. Oh, that's another one actually. I think it's called KCTF. Keep thinking I'm in a browser. KCTF. Is it KCTF? Yeah, KCTF. Oh, it was a Kubernetes based. Oh, fuck's sake. I heard about it and I'm like, it takes 5 minutes to get started. Does it really? What about the Kubernetes cluster? Get a grip on your life. We'll go with CTFD. So basically they'll want CTFD in there so they can run a capture the flag stuff, which relates directly to the cybersecurity stuff, right? Let's have a look. Fleet system, blah, blah, blah. What's the CPU want to use, and does it have NPU? I don't think it might not have an NPU. It might do. They can't, I doubt to be able to run an AI on it. If you run an AI model on this appliance, all of the previous things I mentioned come out of the woodwork immediately. In terms of all of the legalities. Because AI is one of those things, isn't it? It's like, well, what does AI mean exactly? Well, what does it mean? Like, what can it do? What does it like? What you got to think about, unfortunately, is some pretty dark shit, right? So let's say, for example, you put an AI model. So, in fact, I'll tell you a story. So my friend went and looked at the state's implementation of an AI model, right? Because the states are like, definitely, kids can absolutely 100%. Well, it's true, but okay. So you got a large language model. Then let's not call it an AI. Let's call it a large language model. I put it on the appliance. The kids start hacking away at it, or the kids start using it and start typing into it, right? And then one kid types into it, how do I kill myself? How do you deal with that? How does the teacher know that the kid typed it in? How does the teacher deal with it? What happens? Because when the state were like, you can't access ChatGPT, we have to have our own internal state level model, then you can't run it. Their own model that I said to my friend, ask them how it's going to handle with kids who ask the LLM, my dad sexually assaults me. What do I do? Because if you think for 1 second that doesn't happen, welcome to the education system across the entire planet, anywhere in the world. Correct? But it's less being out. It's less. That's actually not really anything to do with the internet. It's because it's an LLM, and if you look at generational trends from generational cohorts, effectively, there's the update to the infographic. Yeah, brilliant. This is what we want. Why isn't that clickable? So if we look at effectively co-creative learning style virtual, right? So Gen Alpha, who are coming through 2010, 2024, their learning style is virtual. It is. You are correct. I can't really get over to it. Oh, hang on. Yeah, I can't really show it, unfortunately. But anyway, this graphic is essentially a showing you the generational cohorts, right? And effectively, Gen A is. Oh, hang on. I can download it here, can I? A Crindle Plus. What the hell are you talking about? Essentially, generational cohort analysis shows that AI chatbots are how a lot of younger people are getting their literal advice on life. So if you make that LLM so that it can't teach them how to kill themselves unless they jailbreak it, and even if they jailbreak it, that still makes it difficult. That's good. That's a good first step, but you still need to capture that the kid even has those thoughts. And so instead, you had to channel them to effectively expressing themselves on that way in a different way, through a different channel, ideally the teacher. So it's very, very difficult to implement anything like that, so unfortunately it's just off the board. As for this will be good. See, like this for example, right? $50 a month, managed hosting, yay. They can't access that. So a teacher might look at this and go, this is perfect, I need to run some CTFs. I've got a Raspberry Pi that I'm running Juice Shop on, and that's all I need, but I need to run CTFD. They can't use this stuff. So yeah, it's tough for them. Actually, I wanted to just mirror. But how does it Pepper mirror client? It maintains are looking for help. Yeah, mission statement, installation. Okay, but you can't tell me what it does. I would say it's pretty much necessary to include LLM because that's what the kids use to get information. Use how to use LLMs, tools, and control the environment. They've got access to an LLM though. The state will provide. The state are providing an LLM. Plus, like I said, they can also just go on their phones and bypass the state network and hit ChatGPT. They're all using ChatGPT. I don't need to provide them with an LLM. They're not dumb. They know how to get around the school network's restrictions. But in my case, I don't need to make more work for myself. I don't need to make more work for myself by trying to provide it directly. Neo4j videos, that can go over here. That just needs space, whether all the APIs can run on Alpine Linux. What are other APIs I can run? REST is fine, and they just need to be able to tap them, right? So what are the APIs that they can run? They can access. That will be a core one, but it will, yeah, I'll just put it over here actually, I guess. Then there's another disconnect from the real world because LLMs are widely used as APIs nowadays, even in projects you not expect them to. Yeah, absolutely. But I'm not, so unfortunately not an option for me just yet. Maybe in the future. Once the appliance has established itself as being trustworthy and blah blah blah, then maybe I can start looking at putting an LLM on there with an API in front of it, so that then the kids can, yeah. But the thing is as well, is although I see what you're saying that, you know, LLMs are being integrated into a lot of products these days, the thing is that they only really need to learn how to use an API, and then they can go and use an LLM's API at home. Because once they know how to code Python and then know how to use the request library to make a request, then they're good. They don't need to touch an LLM in school. They can go home and fiddle with LLMs after the fact. Because an API is an API, so they just need to learn the concept of connecting to an API, right? If that makes sense. I need to find, let's have a look at this data sets. Okay, oh man. Don't get me wrong, there's a lot, but it's like trying to find weather radar network. Okay, this is a bit more. Okay, don't have a browser. Okay, the network of 160 high resolution Doppler radar sites that detect precipitation and atmospheric movement, and just went down approximately 5-minute intervals for each site. Might be better to give the link to a teacher and say, hey, what's interesting here for teaching? Yes. See, even just like, see the way this breaks down accessing the archive data, having this in a bit of documentation. Because another thing we can do is we can have just like a series of, you know, we can have a series of websites, okay? And those websites could be like Nextrad, right? It could be like the Nextrad website, and it could have all of this data on it. Right, you could have all of this data that's on there. So you can have the raw data, you can have instructions, and then it's a case of, okay, cool. Arch wiki dump. Yeah, possibly an Arch wiki dump. Not a bad idea. Not a bad idea. That's to see how big it is, but yeah, it's not a bad idea. Can you go and see? Can you find out how big that is? OpenStreetMap data. Ah, I've already ahead of you on that one. I'll just add this in here. My point here being, of course, is, you know, they got these websites and yada yada yada. Open tile map server. I was playing around with it already. It does work, and I just need to play around with it a bit more so that I can see how detailed I can get. Because when I looked at open tile map server, it was its scripts for pulling down maps were really good, but that was that image there. You can just about see it. That was the height of the resolution. It didn't get any more detailed than that. And so I was sort of like, okay, how do I get more detail? Like satellite images would be amazing. Satellite images would be amazing. So I can go and get the satellite image. So that's fantastic. That's really good. Look at that. That's what I need. I just basically need that, but just for Australia. They can't, mate. They can get an internet connection at home, but this is while they're on school grounds. You're assuming every kid has an internet connection at home. This would be great. If I could get this locally, just this, yeah, love it. That would be great. We can get map. But I have to work out how they can program this in some way. So they got an API, but what does that mean? Right, what can they do with that? That's what I need to... Oh, for Christ's sake. There's a Maps API for developers. So what does this look like? So Maps API for web and mobile developers. Start for free. Browse the maps. So is this a commercial offering? Is that what this is? Like, that's no good to me, right? There's the open tile scheme, great. Open map styles, great. I was looking at Wikipedia, but it's enormous. It's pretty big. Without images, it's about 300, 400 gig. Without images. There's also, you got to think about why is that useful? There's another way of looking at it. I don't see anywhere saying how big, but it's text and maybe some images. Shouldn't be that big. Packages. That's it. If I did a wget on it, I would find out very quickly. Pages from optimized for offline browsing. There you go. I don't know how big. Oh, we just downloaded the zip, but this is the entire Arch wiki. That's just the script, is it? Right, okay, sorry. I thought that was the entire wiki all ready to go. Well, maybe this will give us... Interesting. Wow, they built an entire class just for downloading stuff. Okay. We'd have to run it. Not a bad idea. The Arch wiki is very good. Especially for Linux knowledge, right? Like, for the kids have questions and stuff. They're not running Arch, but... They're running Alpine and Debian. So that's the only issue. That would be my only yeah, that would be my only thing. But I mean, you could run it. Great idea. Let's have a look. Okay, let's ideas. Support bullet points. No, okay. Arch Wiki, Wikipedia. Basically the reference section. Okay, yeah. NASA data from AWS repos. What else did we have? I know just Lord's been very quiet. He's probably playing Star Trek Online. Don't need npm for front end. No, they won't need npm. The other one was Alpine Linux package mirror, 500 gigabyte, let's say. So another good way of thinking about this is, like, again, it's like a mini internet, right? DevMoz is 2.1 gig. Okay, that's not too bad. That's not too bad. Is they can have websites with, you know, fake businesses on there that still things to learn even at my age. What have you learned so far? Put you on the spot. What have you learned so far? You learned what a computer is now. But if we have websites on there that have, like, you know, essentially businesses that need problem solving, right? You can do that. We can have like little micro businesses that are like, I need this. I was even thinking of having something like a little tiny job board. Another thing would be inside of the Git repository. You learn how to listen. Listen to this. Old man learning how to listen. Another thing we can do is we can have repositories, right, of various things, like Project A. Project A. Project B. Right, and they can just be sort of open source projects, and they can have issues on them that the student has to go in. Nice, thanks. Right, issue 1, issue 2, issue 3, issue 4, issue 5, and they have to go and solve the issues and do pull requests. So that's also like another option. Little things like that. So there's all of these tiny little things that can be done. And what I like about the idea of this being a small internet, and potentially a small community of things, is it could evolve over 2 or 3 years. It could even be that those projects here feed into these websites, into these things, right? So they actually effectively build a small internet inside this box. Teaching pull requests without bothering random open source project on the internet. Make it closed off blue sky. I mean, it's possible. You could have a little social network on this. Probably not a good idea. I think the kids will, yeah. Let's, yeah, no. How do I download this? You said it was 2.1 gig. How did you work that out? Is there a download for it? Teach me your ways of downloading this. Did you have a link for it, or did you just... Because I can wget it. I can just be like, boom, wget. Just avoid federated shit. Yeah, I think... Yeah, I don't think they need that. A social network on there is probably not a good idea. Social network's probably not a good idea. Gist offline. Okay, great. Oh, beautiful. When's this from? Is it relatively recent? 2 weeks ago? Fantastic. Wonderful. If you want resources offline to learn about programming work, MDN is for you. Recommend that, or use MDN over OWTs because it is outdated. Agreed. Oh, he's got a download. Oh, okay. Permanent redirect. But your attempt to access must be addressed using a specific endpoint. Oh, God. Okay, does he mention that in the docs? Yeah, that URL's wrong, I think. MDM S3 dash. That's gotta be it. That's gotta be dot, hasn't it? What? Go away. There's going to be... Yeah, maybe. They will be supervised, yeah. Because I'm thinking they can do things like create their own websites and stuff like that, right? Don't mirror with W getting code. This is putting an unneeded pressure on the website and hinders other users. That's true. Sure, robot. Probably handle. W get does not handle this, for instance. Yeah, okay. Can't be posted offline. Well, that link, oh damn, they removed it. Did they remove it? I don't think they did. It does exist. I think, oh, maybe they did. User documentation browsing like Dash. Oh, did they? So their own social site sounds like a great idea. It's true, and that could be what they build, right? And then, you know, it's getting pretty advanced now, but like, don't, what's this? Oh, hey up, what's this? Oh, nice, okay, so they've actually, you can download the MDM docs using the table below. Before downloading, please consider using a documentation browser like Dash, Velocity, or Zeal. These apps will help you get the most out of the docs by providing a search index and quick access to everything you need. That's fine, but I need the whole thing, mate. How big's that? 39 meg? Okay. Downloads. Let's just go offline MDM. Oh, I'll just type properly. Offline MDN. Thank you. Save. Is it just the CSS, or is it telling me that it's DOM? Does not. No, it includes the DOM. It does include the DOM. Is it? I'm confused as to what this even is. Oh, where did that CSS one go? God damn it! Go in there. HTTP. Damn, it's got a HTTP reference as well. God damn, baby. This is pretty good. Let's see what these look like, shall we? Why does it keep hiding that? Clear away dead stuff. Got two CSSs on the go here. Get rid of that. Remove. Although I don't know where that one's going. So now they are marketing offline data by saving the data as you browse it. Okay. That's more efficient for them from an output perspective. It's all about money, bro. Everyone's trying to be efficient because money. If you want them to deploy projects, maybe a DNS server that allows adding subdomains. Imagine project name or student name at your device. DNS server. So one of the things that, let me just visualize the stack a little bit, the hardware stack a little bit more. So we've got effectively a PC. Let's get rid of that. Make it a bit bigger. Lock it. And then do this, and then go RAM. So they've obviously got where are you going here? Where are you going? Oi, oi, oi. God, you've actually got to grab the edge. Okay, well, I'll have a background then if you're going to be like that. I'll do that. There we go. Lock. Alright, so obviously they've got RAM and they've obviously got CPU. Okay, great. So the next thing that we're going to have in there is we're not going to have a GPU because they're just too expensive. They ramp the cost up significantly. So there's going to be at least SSD. There's going to be at least 2 SSDs in there. And I'll probably go with 1 terabyte. I'll get to the point of your networking DNS point in a second. There's definitely going to be an NVMe in there. I'll probably go with 256 gigabyte NVMe for Proxmox to sit on top of, right? MDN offline requires an MDN plus 5 or MDN supported 10 subscription. Told you, man. It's all about money. It's all the world. It's all the world's boiling down to now is just money, money, money. It's just getting gross, honestly. I need to just thingy that down for my own sanity. So this is obviously the system itself, and that obviously runs Proxmox, right? So, yeah, they're getting there now. They're getting to the point now where they're just pissing everyone off. So if we just do Proxmox, right? So Proxmox is running on here. This is our hypervisor just running to the side. What's going to be physically sat on top of the system is a MikroTik router. Okay, and that's going to be providing the wireless connections, right? So the students will connect to this directly, either wired or otherwise. Now, I did try... Oops, the daisy. Oh yeah, I forgot that was locked. I did try providing DNS directly via the router. So when the student connected, the DHCP setup gave them the router as the DNS server. It didn't work because, although it did work for some kids, other kids had hard-coded their DNS settings. Some kids' Windows just refused to not use, just didn't use them. I was like, nope, you're not going to use that DNS server. You're going to use whatever we give you. Some of them had something like dns.windows.microsoft.com, and it wouldn't change. And so running around the classroom trying to fix 16 computers when you're trying to run a thing, it's just not, you just can't do it. So I do need to find a solution to that. I was thinking of running they need to just delete Windows. I was thinking of running a DNS server as a VM, you know, on Proxmox, so that when they connect via the router, you know, they get an IP, etc., and then run it separately on here. But ultimately, it still just boils down to the the system using those DNS settings. That was the only problem that I couldn't solve in the moment. It might just require more thinking on my part, but effectively the DHCP settings were just ignored for a lot of the students, because I wanted it to be like student1.lab.local. It's like, yay. Don't forget as well, they can't do DNS lookups to the internet, so they're actually only going to be able to work with raw IP addresses for everything, which is really horrible. But one of these websites up here will be a home page. So that'll be at like 192.168.1. I'll probably put it at .2. Proxmox should probably be really at 2, but that'll be on the higher end. I'll have the interface for Proxmox on the higher end. Sorry. Eyeball giving me a shoe. And then that .2, so they go to .2, and then that'll have a index where they click links and it takes them to everything, like the git t and blah blah blah. But DNS would be lovely, but getting it working is a bit of pain. It's not a bad idea though, running a DNS VM. And then, in fact, it's not a bad idea actually. I actually quite like it. I quite like that actually. So DNS server, because then the kids can learn to configure their local laptops to use it if they want to. Yeah. So it's not a bad idea. Not a bad idea at all. What we need to get on it today, by the way, we're looking at all of this, is we need to just get this basic framework up and running. We need this, git t. And for now, we can just have fixed things, like you can have the MySQL, the Neo4j, the MinIO, Juicebox, WebGoat, CTFD, I'd say, and the videos are probably, these are the things we just need to get up and running now. You can make it so they get full access if internal domain resolves or something. Yeah, they can basically set it up on here. They won't have access to the MikroTik. Even the teacher won't have access to the MikroTik. That'll be locked out from them. They'll have access to Proxmox, but only in a restricted way, so they can manipulate student VMs. But if we put their own DNS server on there and be like, okay, you want to learn how DNS works? Off you go. The student VM, they'll have access to APK and root and maybe an Alpine mirror. It's pretty chunky. If I do have an Alpine mirror, I might have to introduce a third SSD just to be on the safe side, because I wanted 2 SSDs, you see, one for the core machines and one for the student machines, just to be on the safe side. So maybe a third one for more raw data, like mirrors of things, like the Mozilla reference mirror and stuff like that. How up to date is that mirror, by the way? February 2025. Okay, that's pretty good. I can't imagine that's too old. Like, it's not irrelevant, right? Whoa. I don't know where that CSS went. Did it just go into downloads? Yes. Into offline Mozilla. Yeah. Okay. Tar extract file CSS. Actually, give me HTTP because I don't really understand CSS. Actually drives me insane. HTTP. CDN.js. MDM.github developer. Okay. CD into here. Okay, developer. Okay. Docs. Okay, what's in docs? Web. Okay, so en docs web. What's MDM? What's in web? Open HTTP. Okay. It's missing about 48 new JS features. What's this? Is this a different mirror again? Do you recommend this one instead? It's the official repo, but does it contain everything? One way to find out. Yeah, should. Oh, okay. Well, we're going to find out anyway. 72 meg. Do we reckon that contains everything? 72 meg? This is what I just opened up, downloaded. That's completely offline. That took me to developers, that took me to the web, to the internet. So that reference hasn't been correctly offlined. Nor is that one. Nor is that one. Nor is that one. Okay, that one does. That one has. Interesting. Okay. Let's see what okay, if you say so. All right, what are we looking at? Content. Okay, unzip content main. Okay, so there's a lot in there. So maybe because it's just mainly text, it's super compressed. So let's see how we use it. All the data, it's markdown. Yeah. Okay. Yes, it is. Localhost. So I mean, I don't mind running it if you've got to do that there. If that's what you've got to do. I don't know if I have Node or anything like that installed. No, I don't. Don't have yarn. Do I have yarn? Yarn. No, I don't. I don't have those things. Okay. I guess it parses it then, right? This yarn thing provides a web interface so that you can parse it. So that's one thing I can do. I can run that. That's not a problem. And if it's actually not too big and doesn't take up too much disk space and or memory, I could even run that on each, probably not necessary, but I could run it on each student's VM so they got their own copy of it. But Yeah, I'll just have an internal VM that can just contains a knowledge and stuff. It sucks without DNS though, because you can't do like mdm.knowledgebase.local, and it just goes to the MDM, the MDN, and then wikipedia.knowledgebase.local. Oh yeah, one read-only instance without a doubt. Yeah. Another thing to think about as well is, it is possible that the teacher can give the students some sort of autonomy over the system, and you can get some of the, let's just say, the smarter kids in the class who effectively look after the system, look after and maintain the system, and have SSH access into things. It's certainly a possibility, because some of the kids are pretty smart. I took on 2 kids for work experience, and one of them had written he's 15, I think. He'd written a Python app for his dad's medical clinic that takes bookings and stuff, and they use it on all the Macs and all the PCs. Actually, a desktop application as well. And they use it to actually book stuff. It's good. It's a nice little app. Works really well. So some of them are super smart, and so some of them can, without a doubt, become sort of the administrators of the whole sort of ecosystem and build things out within reason. So I guess a way we can look at this, right, is another way of thinking about this is that it effectively is like a little Stardew Valley, isn't it? It's like a little farm. And we can provide them with some infrastructure, and then from that they can build their own little internet, build their own websites, and each of their own little student web VMs can have an Nginx running on there, or a light HTTPD, and then it's a case of going, yeah, you've got your own HTML file on there. Our entire downloads API at Purpa is made by a kid who was like 14, 15 at the time, running a brilliant guy. Yeah, amazing. They really are smart, super smart kids out there. Really are super smart kids. What's that? Oh, I see. Oh, that's cool. Thanks for that. So yeah, no, there are some really good kids out there. So here's more of an explanation of the problem. So let's get rid of those actually. So that's what the VMs are running. That's sort of what the physically the system will look like eventually. So yeah, I need ideas for APIs. I've got weather data I can store in raw in a min.io bucket, so they can make that public, so they can see what a S3 object store looks like and blah blah blah. They could even use the S3 API, Botto, to access that, so they could write a Python script, use Botto that pulls files down. Stock market historical data, great idea. Great idea. Stock market historical data, great idea. Really, really good idea. You could probably get that for free as well. We've got the MDN. Which can be found there. If we provided the stock market historical data as raw data, but also we wrote an API for it, then that presents the opportunity for the kid to take the raw data and build the API, or for the kids that just want to do front-end stuff, they can use the API to then work on front-end stuff. Sorry, listening out. If that makes sense. So there's options. There's definitely options. Let me just bring this one over here. Love your content from Hungary. Those who can do, those who can't teach. That's rude. I've heard that saying before. It's pretty rude. IG, just dump it to DB and let them do what they want to do. I think writing a small API. So you can't really do that, unfortunately. It's a great idea, and I thought of that as well if they worked in teams. But you can't rely on the students, being able to produce the API in time. And what do the students on the front end do in the meantime while they're waiting? It's sort of, there's too many dependency chains there, too much of a supply chain there. Some students disappear for weeks at a time. They have problems at home, they get sick. It's also an international baccalaureate school in this particular case, the first one we're going to be putting a prototype into. And so international baccalaureate effectively means you can go anywhere in the world and pick up that curriculum. So my wife had kids who came into her school who then went off to Germany because the parents worked in the circus, literally circus performers, some of the best in the world. They're amazing, actually. I've seen them. And they went to IB school, and then when she came back to Australia for the last couple of years, she then went straight back into an IB school and just carried on with the curriculum. So it's sort of a literally international baccalaureate, essentially. And so kids just disappear and go away. Yeah, it effectively will be a backup. Yeah, that's right. So I think if we provided the raw data in MySQL inside a min.io, so there's different options, then the APIs can be there as backups as well, or just in case kids just want to play around with API data. You could do I wonder if you can get a historical news API data dump, just like global news, politics or something. No, that might be a bit too much sensitivity wise. Just trying to think of options of data, useful data. Ideally scientific would be best if we can find it. Okay. So the EAP, Digital Earth, Africa, Data for Good at Meta. Seems like an oxymoron to me. That seems pretty cool. I won't be going outside of Queensland, Australia, to be honest with you. Let alone other countries. I might go into the rest of Australia, but probably not. Whoa! Watching our world unfold. Are they nuclear explosions? Okay. Jeez. Okay. World's broadcast print and media from nearly 100 countries and over 100 land as far as people locations. Yeah, that might be a bit much. Also, it looks like it might need real-time connectivity. It looks fantastic though. Jeez. Bloody hell. That's pretty cool. S3 bucket. Yeah, you need some pretty gnarly stuff to analyze that. You'd have to look at the data and be able to break it down and make it simpler. They are kids after all, and don't really want to expose them to violence neither. Just to be on the safe side. So the media Brexit stories far makeover but less ammo than you'd think. So this was used to actually Brexit news stories, right? Okay. To look at trends and stuff. Okay, I see. That's pretty cool. Yeah, express.co.uk. That doesn't surprise me at all. I think pretty certain Express is owned by Murdoch. Nice. Very nice. Open data. Maybe height maps. Just looking at meta and thinking meta and thinking, all right, coffee time. I shall be back. Be right back. be back shortly. Only you can hear me. Not trying. Succeeding. Alright. Maybe something more fun. Dota match data. Hey, that's not bad at all. That's not a bad idea. 2017. I mean, it's oldish, but it's still good. After a series of adventures, we're happy to announce that we're finally ready to release second data dump over a billion matches. Wow. Okay, player matches, sample, tracker links. If you would like to preview the data following 4 group sample of a large data set, how do you get access to all of it? OData Core 2015. Okay, these are samples. How do I, okay, matches. What's this? This is a CSV file. No such bucket. No such bucket. Tracker links, matches. Open data, all matches from March 16th. Download 155 gig. Well, it's 155 gig as well, so that's a bit of a problem. Mega scenes. Wow. Okay. Mega scenes. Let's look at this one. What's this? My School Today. UN Sustainable Development Solutions Network. Open data, open Meteo, nice. School age population by travel time from OpenStreetMaps recorded schools in Africa. By travel time, walking time, wow. So these, wow. 100% over 60 minutes from recorded school. Oof. It's important, man. Really affects your education, therefore your entire life going forward, right? Let's have a look at this one. Let's have a look. Yeah. Really? Is it real time? This data is made available through AWS Open Sponsorship Program. So it's the following national services, quality, weather model. So has this got the data in it? Tutorial. Don't think it does, is it? Docker Compose. Okay. It's only the bucket. Yeah. Okay. It's not a bad idea. Materials project opened as a computed materials properties aiming to accelerate materials science research. Okay. Got a friend that works in that field. Let's have a look. The Department of Energy to pre-compute properties of materials and make this data publicly available. Okay. Yeah, I could probably just do 1 year as well, right? The problem is I don't think it gives you that option. I'd have to download the whole thing and then do a slice myself. 1.1 billion matches. Pretty cool though. That's a cool idea. I'm going to keep it there. Actually, let's add it in. Enough with a massive Massive link. Okay, let's have a look. Open food facts. Link shortener. Yeah, they could write a link shortener. That's for all the images of open food facts. Big stats for open of food products in the world. Okay. Okay. Oh wow, contains the images and the actual dataset too. Well, the OCR scans, I should say. Okay. Yeah, okay, the bucket is there. There's a lot. Yeah, there's a lot of data. Not sure how big. Does it say how large it is? AWS S3 get bucket size. The kids could do a lot with the map data, yeah. Definitely. I want to do it from the command line. Yes. Okay, great. LS summarize, human readable. Okay. Give me a sec. Just while that processes. Okay. Well, that's doing a recursive summary of the entire bucket size. Reddit comment dump, not a good idea. Bad idea. Bad dragon. Awful. Just awful. Terrible. Bad. Just awful. Alright, how do I get access to this stuff? That's the bucket. Yeah, okay, wait for that. What else did you have in here? What's this prod comp shopping? You're making me buy stuff. Product comparison dataset for online shopping. Where? Explore final product data.tsv. Oh, really? Okay, let's open it up in LibreDocs. Just go. Go, baby. Baby monitor feature product 1, brightness control. Baby monitor feature product 2, app available. Feature 3, audio sensor. What? Battery life rating product 1. 3.67 stars. Okay. That's nice. We won't use that one, I don't think. I think that food summarization of that is going to take a long time. A bloody long time. Alright, let's have a look. One thing I like about the approach that we're taking here is it's actually not that difficult to create a there is that actually now that I remember, it's not actually, that's not that difficult. That actually allows us to create a framework so that should the teacher like, oh, this would be a good idea for a website, an internal website with an API and a data set that the kids can then consume, it wouldn't be that hard to create a framework for creating new virtual machines and adding them in. There's internet in a box is a real thing. This is for like, you know, taking off to poor countries and stuff. We could run something like this. What is Gab? A bastion of free speech or an alt-right echo chamber? What? What are you on about? Does this just contain... What's in here? No idea. I'm just scrolling through data sets. That's one of them. Jeez. File name... The only thing I've never really got out of this though is what does it actually contain? Learning hotspots in dozen countries everywhere. Yeah. Yeah. Okay, let's have a look. Yeah. Just trying to work out. Oh, there we go. Okay, from online libraries like Quix or to go, archive.org, then takes care of all the download and details for you. Okay. Thanks, mate. Do you have that lab document available to look at anytime? Which lab document? Do you mean the... Sorry, let me just make this window on top. There we go. Okay, thanks. Oh my god. Please, what's this little thing? Weird. Thanks for telling me about the chat guidelines on my own chat. Appreciate it. Okay, so what is GeoCities and why is Google making the font Comic Sans when I Google it? You don't know? Oh my god. GeoCities. Wow. I used to host tons of websites on GeoCities when I was a kid. The outline. You mean this diagram and stuff? It's not going to be available anywhere really, because it's not really a sort of an open source project at this point. It's sort of an idea for an appliance that I'm building. Maybe eventually it will become open source though. Eventually. Hopefully. Got to build it first though. Doesn't know what GeoCities. 688 gig. GeoCities madness. Not sure how I feel about that actually. Huh? That's what I wanted. How do I feel about GeoCities? How do I feel about GeoCities? Early in the morning. Send me a link to the GeoCities. Okay, this is interesting. So here's everything it pulls down. ASCII Ubuntu. The internet in a box does this stuff. What's blocky games? Code Monster, Core Knowledge, Crash Course. Ooh. Blocky games with Scratch. I might want to put Scratch on there actually. Crash Course is one of the best ways to educate yourself, your classmates, and your family on YouTube. So they've got the whole channel. They must have just thingied it. Let's just dump it in there for now. They must have what's it called? Creative Commons, the website, the content.
Hi, I'm Hank Green. Welcome to Craft.
Oh, Hank Green. Yeah, okay. Yeah, it will be. It'll, without any doubt, it'll just be completely open source and freely available. Without any doubt, if it's Hank Green, he's a very nice guy. Yeah, that's how they'll be doing it technologically. I mean, more from a legal perspective. I'd imagine they've probably got permission to do it, given the nature of it. But having all of those offline is really good. My friend does actually want me. Do you guys know how to, or do you have a video online web-based video player? That's gonna take forever. That thing. I don't even want to do that anymore. For playing in the browser, because I did have one video like browser-based video player and storage. Uncensored BitTorrent dataset. What was it called? Video simple video player I think was the one I found. No, that wasn't it. There was one where it's hostable. I've got it running on a server somewhere, but I can't remember what it was called. I could run a Jellyfin. It's a bit heavy though. This was more like a server side. It was actually a file manager. It's actually a web-based file manager with video player. Can't remember what it was called. I've got it running somewhere. File browser. I think that's maybe it. That's it. This is it. File browser. So this thing just lets you. So if you go to the demo. Yeah, this is it. This is what I've got running on a box. You can come in and basically just, it's got files in it that you can drop up. Yeah, you want something a bit nicer than that though, rather than just raw. You want an interface so that you can list files and put them in folders and stuff. Is this the infamous Big Bunny? Isn't this a Blender project? Like it was all. That's why it's used a lot, because it was made in Blender. Very cool. I like this. I like this because you get this view and you can create logins and stuff and blah blah blah. Should be impressed with a better one though. Yeah, it's all good. It's probably just the. Just take me to the repository I was just on. Thank you. Stop trying to be clever. Okay. File browser. File browser. So that's good for video because he needs. Because even YouTube is heavily restricted for the kids. Yes, I have Baldur's Gate 3 on, and I have Baldur's Gate 3 on the go at the moment. I've only just started playing it. It's a good game. I sort of need to re-roll though. Teaching in the fall. I have a GitHub I'm working on for DevOps class, Docker, Kubernetes, GitHub, SSO, Git-T, and automating build with Terraform and Ansible. It's a work in progress. Probably won't be ready for a couple of semesters. That's really cool. That sounds great. Yeah, good choice of tech. It'll be interesting to see what you come up with. This is for a complete closed loop environment. The kids cannot access the internet effectively. Your third playthrough. Wow. Yeah, I can see why, given the choices, you could go through and make them all. You could make completely different choices to see the outcome. Like, how about you just burn the whole grove down? The grove in the beginning area. Just destroy everything. I'm going to show this to a friend of mine. My friend from the school. Let's just see if I can share it with him somehow today or tomorrow. I think he'd love to see this. See what we're effectively building. This would be great for putting videos on, because there's a lot of videos on stuff that he just can't access. Programming stuff mainly, like good Python and cybersecurity channels and videos. Need a load of those. Need some good YouTube channels with good relevant stuff for doing like SQL injections and especially around Juice Shop. If anyone can find some channels that do that, that would be amazing. Because then I'd just, probably not legal, but that's okay. I'd probably just basically put them on this file browser on the internal internet, so they've got a little YouTube clone. Or if someone can find a little YouTube clone, that would be great. An open source project that sort of gives you like a little disk full. Great. My downloads folder's not the biggest. I try and keep it minimal just because of the amount of crap I've got going on in here. That's okay, I don't need it right now. But that's good to know that's there anyway. New York City taxi trip data. Perfect. 2013's fine. The date's completely irrelevant. If they've got geographical data in it, that would be fantastic. There are 2 folders, free deferred data and trip data. CSV formats, technical, 11 gig. Oh, I see, that's where it's hosted. I was hoping to see a... Yes, spatial data, yeah. Oh, that's spatial data sets, okay, I see. Although that looked promising, actually. New York City trip data. Where the hell's my... There you go, New York City trip data. New York City trip data 2013. Fantastic. I've seen Airbnb data before now. Yeah, the Tube Archivist. Is that the same thing though? Does it give you... Oh, does that actually give you an interface? Oh, I thought that just archived them onto like raw storage for you. But it does actually give you an interface. That's amazing. Mine is a STIG environment with offline repo focused on security. Yeah, okay. That's pretty cool. Well, if you're willing to open source it, I'd love to see what you come up with. I'm not going to go into things like Kubernetes. Not going to go that far, or things like Docker, because it's just not in the. It's not really in the remit of the actual syllabus. But the things like Kubernetes and stuff, I can add them on. That's the point I'm trying to make, right? Is the appliance is effectively like a little micro internet, and so I can totally run a small, K3 or M3. What's it called? Is it K3s? Now for the important questions. We are going to get our names in the project contributors table in the database, right? If you want, sure, no problem. Yeah, absolutely. And that also depends if I open source it. It depends on. I have to weigh up whether open source and all the Terraform, all of the Ansible, all of the VM images, etc., adds value to the project itself. If it does, then sure. But I'm also willing to, on a private internal web page, have a thank you page. Yeah, you'd have to send me your real names though. I can't put "you have trouble" or "dragon." That doesn't mean anything. So I'll need your full name, address, mother's maiden name, date of birth, your social security numbers. Especially Lord's. I know he's secretly a millionaire. Okay, subscribers to favorite channel, download videos and you do index and make videos searchable, play videos. I think I need to run something like this locally as well, actually. not a scam, man. It's an investment opportunity. Yeah, okay, that looks good. That looks like what we need. So I'll use the other one for I'll use the file browser one for just raw things that aren't really YouTube things, but I'll use the archivist as well. Cool, we're getting there, getting closer and closer and closer. Slovenia. It's a Neo4j dataset as well. That's nice. It's already in a graph. That's pretty good. It's pretty good. Da. Okay. Oops. Guys, we're getting there. Getting more and more. Okay, so we've got someone found historical stock market data from at least the 90s. Yeah, I think it's probably hard to find open source stock market data. A lot of people. Okay, try and find one where you can buy it and find a reasonable price. I'm happy to pay. It's not a problem. I paid for a lot of the weather data stuff because I wanted really high quality, just straightforward data in CSV and JSON format that I can just use, that I know is accurate, professionally collected and curated. So I ended up paying for that. It was a couple of $100 for like quite a few cities. Quite a few cities go all over Australia, every major city in Australia, and a few global international ones from 2025 through to like 1970 or something. So there's a lot of data there. So yeah, so the OpenStreetMap, what I'm going to do, I'm going to mark some of these as possibilities. So we'll put that in dashed. Yeah, websites. Yeah, next rad, so we'll get rid of that. Yeah. For now, because we sort of know what websites is, we'll hash it for now. APIs, we're definitely going to want at least a weather API on there without a doubt. Videos, we definitely want CTFD. I could probably get them running fairly simple. What I need mainly right now is the student VMs, Git, MySQL, and probably MinIO for the raw data. Yeah, that's probably what I need right now. Okay, archivist, how do you run this? Is it easy enough to run? 2 gig available memory for small testing setup and around 4 gig of memory for a mid to large size installation. Okay, so it's quite chunky, but that's okay. Minimal with dual core with 4 threads, better quad core plus. This project requires Docker, should install. Okay, for Unraid, Synology, and Podman. What do you guys think of Unraid? Have you seen it? I've had a few people be like, it's the bee's knees, you got to pay for it. It's effectively this idea that you've got parity disks, but it's not actually RAID per se, hence the name Unraid. And apparently it's just, you just keep adding disks to it over and over and over, and I'm not too sure about it. Download data. Okay, let's have a look. How much data? Download as CSV. Yeah. What's this? Let's see how far back it can go. Maximum of 1 year. Okay. Oh, was that per stock? Oh, okay. Yeah, Kaggle's a good one. I've got a few things from Kaggle. Historical data, NASCAR, retrieve Yahoo Finance. Consider price up to but from where? Do we know from when? That's pretty good. Okay. Nasdaq traded stocks and ETFs. That's fine. That's good enough. It doesn't need to be. It doesn't need to be super perfect. Oh, cool. We'll go for Nonito for that. It's a bit easier to read. €899. What? What? To download that data set? What do you mean? Oh, another one. Oh, okay. Yeah, that doesn't surprise me. Yeah, it depends on how detailed it is, but I mean, that's pretty, you know, the date, the open, the high, the low, the close, the volume, that's pretty good. That's pretty good data. Whereas the one, if you pay $900 for a data set, it's probably going to have insane amounts of, it's probably going to have the alphas and the betas and the all kinds of trend analysis on the data as it moves through time. Especially as we now get into the, you know, people grabbing data to feed into LLMs and AI, right? People are now probably going to start throwing up paywalls in front of all this data because, like, oh, I can potentially make money from this. Well, I'm going to have to probably go directly to the NAS and download all of this data now. What about the game creation side of things? I wonder if we can clone and provide a dump of 2D and 3D game assets. Not too many, because obviously take up a lot of space. But I wonder if we could do anything like this. Oh, that will be local to the kid. Guess it would be. What's that Space DB? Is the Space DB the one for running an MMO or whatever it's called? Space-time DB. I wonder if that's something we can host. Is that worth doing? Too overkill, do you think? Too hard? Don't think it's worth it? Yeah, I think it'd be too hard, right? I think it'd be too hard for these kids, I reckon. Just a niche, yeah. I think it'd be too hard for these kids, to be honest with you. Beautiful website. It's done very well in the marketing for the website. I need to do something like this for mine. It is very hard to justify. I need to do something similar to that one with mine. Mine's a bit crappy. It's okay, I guess. Yeah. Yeah, I agree. Love the website though. Freaking gorgeous website. Is that how you write it? Oh, that's Rust. I was gonna say, what the hell? So what the hell is that syntax? It's gross. Oh, it's Rust. Yeah, that makes sense now. Using space on DB, public static partial class word, space on need a total poetry. For each public static void, say hello. Interesting. Just trying to think of if we look at this infographic and use it as a way of informing our decisions. What about more on the cybersecurity stuff? So we've got WebGoat and Juicebox, which is fine. But what about malware? Because this appliance is really, really perfect for make a script or use a script. Oh, okay. Oh, I see. Yeah. Okay, I'll make a note of that. Thanks, mate. Great. So I think what else we need in here, from the cybersecurity perspective, is kidscancode.org. Okay, let's have a look. Ooh, okay. Yeah, bringing coding classes to your school. Oh, actually, another one. Didn't Scratch go down the pan or something recently? My friend was saying they can't use Scratch anymore. I can't remember what it was. They couldn't use Scratch in the school or something. I'll have to look up. Can you self-host it as well? I actually want to see if I can actually... Yeah, but if I can at least download it and host it on the thing, then that would be great. Let's go back to that downloads. Blocky game. That blocky game we looked at earlier, but I thought it was just a... Oh, right, I see what you mean. Okay. Okay, yeah, this is good. Well, it's not working, but yeah. Okay. Yeah, that's what I expected to see. Okay, that makes more sense. Yeah. RSS reader, probably no, I don't think so. So we're going to move forward. How do I know if it's turn left or right? I guess it's turn left. Move forward. Turn right. Move forward. Can they see the code? Oh, there's two more forwards there, that's why. Okay. I want to know if they can actually code it, right? Can they actually code it? Blocky games data. Let's go here. Yeah, okay, I reckon this is probably the offline eliminates some features. Language. User created programs cannot be shared by exchanging links. Okay. Total movie and music programs may not be submitted to the online gallery. Downloaded games do not benefit from the regular improvements made to online version. Okay. Still an option. Still an option, I think. NA10, it's not a bad idea. Might be a bit overcomplicated for them, but it's not. Oops, it's not a bad idea, to be honest. Let's just get rid of that. Yeah, basically it builds everything. Just saying that these repos feed into the over here. Oh, that's blocky games. Dope. Blocky games. Right, what time are we on? I have to finish at 10 today. We're getting close, 1:45. Tons of financial data sets. Okay, let's have a look. Treasury. Ooh, okay. Well done. Good job. Thank you. Stock market / finance. Historical data. Kids can code. Let's go back to that kids can code. Pi, can you download it? Resources. Khan Academy. I wonder if Khan Academy and Code Academy could be offline. Ah, she's cute. Great. Commercial? Yeah, probably. Nothing stands out. Yeah, it's probably because obviously they want you to use their site, obviously. That's fine. That's not a problem. Good recipes. Oh, really? Wow. Yeah, some of the kids are using Godot. Okay. Okay, that's really good. Thank you. That's a good one. I could probably just pull that up. I was going to say I could probably just rip it, to be honest. Kids can code Godot 4.x. Okay. It doesn't have a next or anything, does it? 101. Getting started. Nice. Okay, that's actually a really nice might even use that myself. Godot's a pretty cool engine. Yeah. Yeah, I'm actually looking at it thinking that's actually quite cool. It's a really nice Godot, actually. It's a really nice engine. My main issue is I really want to make UI heavy games. I have a few ideas that I really want to play around with. I really want to make a UI heavy. Games that don't have too much in the way of graphics. That's cool. That's really cool. They've set it up so you can put an actual cooldown timer on it. That's really cool. Yeah, I probably would go browser based, to be honest, but then I'm not very good. I'm not very good at front end UIs when it comes to things like JavaScript. That's the only problem. But that's okay. That's a really good one. I got to copy that, didn't I? Yeah, kids can code. Scratch. I don't want an earlier version. I just want an offline version. Adobe Air. I think Scratch is pretty much dead in the water, to be honest with you. That's way too much. We've done a lot here. We've covered a lot. We've got a lot of different things. I can go back to my friend with all of this and be like, this is what we're thinking of doing. These ones will be sort of special VMs in a way because of the nature of them. It's like a cybersecurity module that they turn on, I guess. Linux Maze, I'm still going to make that. That'll be nice. That's just for teaching them Linux, right? So the VM will have like a level 1 user on it. The password will be level 1. They'll SSH to it, and then it'll have just this very simple thing like cat out the contents of a file. And it'll have the level 2 user in there. And then they can either log out and log back in via SSH to level 2 and that password, or they can SU over to the user and go to the home directory for level 2. And then there'll be another sort of file system or Linux permissions based challenge they have to overcome in order to even just something simple like they can't read a file but they can write it, but it's got the password in it, so they've got to use chmod to change the file permissions to then cat it out and go, oh okay, cool, and then they can the level 3 password will be in there. So that's what I mean when I say Linux Maze. get in Python 3, JDK, JRA, C++ compilers, Rust compiler, Go, Golang, etc. all on here. Is effectively what that stack means. Effectively just various compilers so they can run that stuff. An Alpine mirror will be good. Package repository mirrors will be good. But yeah, chunky. Very, very chunky. If I went to raw disk, make my bellowed. What does that mean? What say you, sir? What say you? What say you? What say you? Got some of my templates ready here. Make the command. Yeah. Yeah, make will be on the full development kit. Scream? Do you mean what? Scream? Scream? Scream the game. Scream the movie. We'll host Scream, the movie series, on there for the 10-year-olds to watch. Ice cream. You scream. We all love ice cream. He never finished that with the ice cream quote. Probably because I beat him to it. So I think overall we've got a good idea of the base VMs, and now we have bad puns. That's what you come here for, the dad jokes and the bad puns. So we understand the problem, right? We need to get this appliance inside to effectively provide what they could normally access on the internet. It's essentially what we need to do. We need to provide as much of that as possible. If we look at disks, these are obviously Australian prices. Yeah. If we look at something like Western Digital in stock, and we look at, your 16 terabyte disks. So like the price of the whole appliance almost doubles just putting one 18 terabyte disk in there. Good night, Dragon. Sleepy time for Eastern Europe. Thank you for all your help, mate. Have a good night. Sleep well. It's coming close. We're coming close to 3 hours anyway now. That's the... Well, 18 terabyte is a lot, but I'm thinking about those repositories, right? Like the PyPy repository for all Python packages, which they don't need all of them. That on its own is 27 terabytes. And I'm not saying we need that. I'm just saying that it's huge. It's absolutely massive. And so if we did put one spinning Rust disk in there with a good, I don't know, maybe let's say a good 8 terabytes, right? 8 terabytes now, that's pretty good. $300. Well, space actually isn't that big of an issue. So all of the raw data is the big one, all those data sets. Probably less than a terabyte for most of the raw. And we don't have to include all of the entire, like, you remember the Dota stuff? Like, what if we just took 1 year of the Dota data of all the games, right? Then cool, it probably comes down from, whatever it was, 27 gig down to, a couple of 100 megabytes. The same with like these VMs, Juicebox, WebGo, CTF, a couple of gig in disk space, but they'll be on a dedicated 1 terabyte SSD. So the VM image sizes aren't too big of an issue. All of the VMs combined, all the student VMs, the disk size will be like 4 gig. So okay, so we'll be looking at 4 gig. So 1024 times 4 times 120. Let's have a look. So half a terabyte for the student VMs. They're going to have a terabyte. So there's going to be 2 at least 2 1TB SSDs in there. The core VMs and then the student VMs. And so those will allow for, they'll be not only big enough, but they'll allow for double the capacity for growth. But then if I throw in an extra 1TB SSD, correct, yeah, so the videos and images will be the second biggest factor after Alpine clone. Yeah, exactly. So if I do the Alpine mirror clone, that can go on this 1TB drive over here, right? Oops, what the you are, my friend, meant to be locked because I locked you. Let's just go bring to front. Thank you. That's the base. So then it just becomes a case of how many drives are we sticking inside of this thing, right? And so do I get rid of that and instead go with like a 4TB HDD to bring costs down? Because unfortunately, you know, just the nature of things is SSDs are still quite expensive. So if we come down, what are we looking at here for a 4TB SSD? $1,000, $400 here for a cheap one. These Crucial BX ones are pretty low end, but they're pretty reliable. I've got a few sat in the box down here and in the garage, and they just keep going. They don't really die. They're pretty good. They're pretty reliable. But then that's the other thing, is reliability, right? So if I stick with 4TB, 4TB go half the price. It's literally half the price. So this 4TB is like $380 for SSD, and then, you know, might not last as long, and then you can get a hardcore Western Digital Red for half the price. Very highly well reviewed, $160. Literally designed for NAS storage. I can get 2 of them for the cost of one 4TB SSD, right? So do I do that? It's all about the cost of the appliance as well, because we've got to think about the actual billing of the actual appliance itself, right? Some of them you can get cheap, some of them are expensive. Yeah, is that $300 US? Yeah, that's like $600 Australian. It's like $550 Australian. So my point still stands that for a 4TB platter-based physical disk, it's a much smaller fee. So the thing is as well, I don't want to be building these myself all the time. I wouldn't mind finding a system builder to build these for me, someone who can just throw them together for a small fee, because it's a one-time cost, right? And you might do it. There's thousands of them in the city. Wouldn't be an issue finding someone. But I'm going to go through to UMart themselves and say, you know, blah blah. I might even be able to get them to sponsor it. I might even be able to get them to say, you know, if we stick a UMart sticker on the side, the website address on the QR code, saying, hey, you know, sponsored by UMart. $30, yeah, nice. I'd have bought loads of them if I was in that situation. They had multiple discs that I could buy. I'd buy like 10 of them for £30. That's crazy. Damn, boy. So these are options, right? You know, I can come down, I can drop off, and just have a 4TB drive, and then that can be where all of the, where all the packages go. So yeah, that's what we're looking at so far. We've done really well today. Thank you so much. We've really sort of like nailed down the problem. We've got a good sort of understanding of what the problem looks like, the sort of areas we need to focus in on. We've got ideas for open data that we can run and things we can run. And there's probably more out there as well. You know, we've got things that we can look at running today. Get that student VM up and running. Really, 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 really good. Thanks, guys. So, Lord, with regards to Baldur's Gate 3, how many people and how many times, I should say. No, but how many people have you now had sex with? If you want to be optimal, you could also put student VMs on the HDD and load them into NVMe SSD when the student logs onto the network. Yeah, maybe. Probably not necessary. Doesn't need to be that optimal. 120 VMs with probably 100 just sitting there running. The thing is as well, I don't actually know whether the system is going to be running 24/7, right? So the teachers may say, I want to turn it off every night. Have you had sex with the bear yet? Have you done the bear speed run? So they might turn it off every night. Because, for example, my friend runs the computer science club, and he has a computer that's got a handle on the top. It's a system that he built called Betsy. And he just brings it down from the classroom, plugs it in, turns it on, puts the router on the top, plugs it in, turns it on. And then you can connect to it and off you go. And so if it's a computer science club and they don't have a dedicated room for it, which they probably won't, then they need to be turned on and off all the time. So that's something else to think about. It's going to be turned on and off all the time. It's going to be carried. What happens if someone drops it? They pay for a new one. Because they rent it, you see. The idea is they're going to rent it on a yearly basis. Platter breaks. Snappity snap snap. There goes your platter. I mean, ultimately, if that happens, then it's a case of, yeeks. Well, here's the fee for me to come out and replace it. And they'll have insurance anyway, so I might be able to offset it and have insurance on it myself. So yeah, okay guys, 6 cores. It'll be a AMD CPU. It'll have an APU in it as well, because I want to be able to plug in a monitor and a keyboard and be able to debug it physically on site in case I have to, and even the teachers as well, in case it goes wrong. So you need something to give you a display. 64 gig of RAM is definitely enough. It'll be DDR5, and so it'll be chunky enough. Proxmox does the job perfectly, and then we'll be using an initial lump of Terraform and Ansible to configure the Proxmox system, and then bring up the Git copy over a Git VM image, which will have all the repositories in place. That'll spin up. They'll have a static IP, because the IP and networking stack on all of them will be identical. On this router, the MikroTik router will be configured to be identical for all of them, because they're independent networks, so they don't connect to each other, so there's no IP collisions. So that means that then they can operate individually with each other. So that means the VMs can all, when I build one, you can literally just build hardware, physically build another one, and you can almost just go copy paste. You can do a mass migration from one to the other and run them, and they should just run. As long as things like these disks, are mounted into, they're mounted into Proxmox correctly. That's what Proxmox will be on, so that they're at the right location. That is about, yeah, they will have their own static IPs. Yeah, every student will have an IP. They'll have a 192.168.1.100 through to .200. Well, to 220, 230. So I'll give them a big chunky range, and then everything below .99 and down will be for all of the internal websites and stuff. And you can use one VM, an IP address, for all of the websites and APIs, right? Because you can just have IP address /API/weather. There's your weather API. Because Nginx can still be configured to say, hey, when the connection comes in, if that's the path, go to this backend API and then serve it up, and then you're done. So you can still use Nginx as a reverse proxy. I will work on DNS. I will have DNS in there as well. Or Caddy, yeah, whatever. Caddy, yeah. Traffic, whatever, yeah. Caddy's nice. I like Caddy, actually. It's quite nice. But yeah, so it's definitely doable. And then the next problem, which is further down the line, is imagine there's 100 of these. So here's something to, if you want a challenge, something to think about. Imagine there's 100 of these spread around the country, and I have to go and update them all. The only way I've thought to do that is to basically leave on the MikroTik router, is to leave port 1, the WAN port, is to leave it as is. What is this? Can I have, governor, a normal little box? Thanks, mate. If I leave the WAN port configured, but as is with nothing plugged into it, then what they can do is they can come and get like a 5G. I can send them, or they can provide their own 5G router. Yeah, exactly. And then they can connect it. And then the Proxmox can then technically go through and out to the internet. Internet of Things, Internet of Things. It's the internet and it contains things. Hey, that does work. Yeah. So technically then the MikroTik will be able to go out to the net. So that's a possibility. So if they're like, oh, we want to do an offline, we want to do an update, we can make it so that it connects, and then that means Proxmox can then have the router as router, the WAN port still configured. It'll get if you give it a 5G router that provides DHCP, you know, one of those little things with an Ethernet cable, and you just plug it in. The MikroTik has a DHCP client sat there waiting for an IP. Boom, gets an IP address. Sweet, that's what I do here. My MikroTik here, just behind my monitor, is just physically connected on its WAN port out the house, underground, on a cable that my brother and I laid. Goes underground, goes into the back of the garage, comes out, hits a switch, and then the switch goes along the wall, has a cable, goes out, goes along the wall, and then connects to a secondary MikroTik, and then that MikroTik terminates the fiber coming into the property. And so all my router here does on the WAN port is just a DHCP client, and it just gets given an IP by the other MikroTik at the other end. So nice and easy, and it just works. So we can do the same here as well. So there will be the option of connecting to the internet, but that's what the teacher will do. That's what the teacher will do. And then from there, you can then update your shit, right? Where did my other line go? Got yeeted and deleted. So yeah, that makes sense, right? Cool project, hey? Yeah, there'll be multiple. The MikroTik has 8 ports on it, 8 1 gigabit ports in it, and you can get unmanaged 24 ports gigabit switches that are cheap enough that you can also just add on, and then you can start connecting lots of boxes. You can start connecting Raspberry Pis to it, right? And then they're on the same network. They can get a small little DHCP pool for extra boxes, work out what they're at, go in, set up a static IP in a specific little range of say 10 IPs, say .80 to .90 or .90 to .99 or something, and then they can come in and plug their own stuff in. And yeah, I'd imagining school 1 has box 1, school 2 has box 2, let them talk to each other, employ. Oh no, you wouldn't be able to do that, unfortunately. They don't talk on the same sort of network in that way. Every school is isolated. Every school is isolated. But yes, we got far. Look at that, baby. That's good. I'll show my friend Dan, and we'll have a chat about it. We shall have a chat. Bring it into this thing. There we go. Brought it in frame there. Just lock them up. Definitely something to think about later. Possibility. Maybe. But I think we're cooking. Thanks very much. I'm going to go. Got Mother's Day. It's Mother's Day today. Mother's Day lunch here at the house. But I'm going to go for a little ride into the city so I can go and look at faces and socialise a bit instead of being cooked in this room. That was a good stream. Thanks, Lord. Thank you very much, mate. Thanks for coming. Yeah, see me next week. I'll be here next week. But yeah, this is what I'll be building now. I need to get this done. I'd love to do the solo craft stuff, and I do have ideas behind that. But this is taking precedence at the moment because it's pretty important. And so yeah, we'll see how we go. Thanks, guys. Have fun. Take it easy. Don't do anything I wouldn't do. Okay. What do you want to do? Don't do anything I wouldn't do. Where's the... what? Stupid thing. Where's that? That's the one I want. Yay. Okay, there we go. Woohoo! Still streaming. Yeah, it is a good course. Thanks, Trouble. See you later. Bye, everyone. Bye, bye, bye.